What's up, guys? It's Dylan. I'm back in the garage tonight. Gonna be doing a little bit of work on the car, and I'm gonna give you guys a rundown on what I've been up to with it. So let's get into that right now. All right, so I think the last time I recorded, I was talking about doing the front brakes and stuff like that, and yeah, I ended up doing that. Everything went good. I did run into an issue, not on the driver's side. I basically ran into an issue. I painted the calipers, by the way. Added a little bit of gold sparkle to match the spindles. Anyways, ran into an issue. For some reason, I ordered the wrong size brake rotors, so I had to get new brake rotors. And then I figured out that one of the slide pins back here on my passenger side caliper, on the passenger side caliper on the other side of the car, one of them was seized, so the caliper could not slide and do its thing properly. So I fought with that to get it out, because that was a little bit of a pain in the butt because it was seized in there really good. So I ended up buying replacement slide pins, and bushings and seals and stuff for that one. So that caliper minus the piston has been fully rebuilt, basically. Probably the easier route would have been to just get a whole new caliper bracket, because those parts all come with a brand new bracket. But for some reason, left side of the car, caliper bracket completely discontinued everywhere. You cannot find them. I searched all over the place, but you can get right side, my driver's side caliper brackets, no problem. But for some reason, the other side is completely discontinued. So that was a little bit of a piss off, because I probably would have went that route, because it just would have been simpler. Anyways, everything's buttoned up in the front end now. We're good to go. I just threw a wheel on there just to get it out of the way, but also did extended studs. So that's that. And now I'll let you guys know what I did with my drive shaft. So when I pulled the subframe out of the car about a year ago now, excuse me, one of the first things I noticed is that the center support bearing on the drive shaft was the rubber on it from the bearing to basically like the housing mount thing. It was completely torn, dry rotted out, non-existent. And when I touched it, it basically disintegrated in my hand. So I had to replace that. So last weekend, I ended up replacing the center support bearing, as you can see right here. Essentially, what I did, because I didn't end up filming it, I meant to, but I kind of forgot. But if you're wanting to do this job on this car, it's actually not too hard. I would just recommend getting a butane or a propane torch to heat up the existing bearing to help you out. And 100%, I would get a 3-jaw puller, at least a 2-jaw, but a 3-jaw if you can rent it. And you want like 7 inches of reach, because you essentially need to like put the pin here in your center drill, and you need to reach like back here, and letting the puller do its thing, pull it off. So anyways, see this groove here? There is a C-clip that I haven't put back in. You need to take that C-clip out for the bearing to slide off the shaft. So what I did was I took the C-clip out, heated up the bearing really good, took the puller, mounted it here, slid the bearing off, let the puller do its thing, worked really good. And then basically to my advantage, this past weekend it was like minus 40 degrees Celsius outside right now. Not sure what that is in Fahrenheit, but it's really cold. Actually, I think it's minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit also. Could be wrong. I think it's the same thing though. So I left it outside for probably a good like 20 hours. And if you guys don't know much about like temperatures with metals and even like anything basically, cold shrinks it, heat expands it. So that's why I heated up the bearing to expand it a little bit to help it slide off easier. I left the drive shaft out in the cold to shrink it a tiny bit. I don't know how much it did, but I think it helped. So I left it outside in that temperature for about 20 hours in hopes that it would shrink the shaft enough that I could just basically take this bearing and plop it right on. For the most part, it did work. I did have to take a piece of pipe that reached this far and help the bearing pound it down, help the bearing seat to where it needed to be properly, which is right there. But otherwise it slid on very easily. If you look up on YouTube on how to like just do a generic center support bearing job, people will say, oh, like get a socket to help knock the bearing on into place. Well, I don't know about other cars, but this right here, I don't have a tape measure on me, but this is like 5 inches, and I don't know a deep socket that reaches 5 inches. So anyways, that's basically what I did. Bearing slid on, tapped it down with a pipe and hammer into place, and it seated on there really good. It was still a little bit loose, like when the shaft was still cold, but it's basically normalized in temperature now because it's been like a week and everything is perfectly good. So stoked on that, how that turned out. I thought it was going to be a little bit more of a nightmare considering everything else I've done with the car, but it actually went really good. So I'm going to probably leave the drive shaft off of the subframe until like I'm ready to put the subframe back in the car, which will hopefully be soon because I'm moving on to this next. All right, so what I have here are the Serialnine LS400 Celsior first gen. Pretty sure the same for the second gen. Lower camber arm, rear camber arm. I actually ordered these probably like, I don't know, 10 months ago, I bet. I got them, I think, in like August, maybe. And I just haven't installed them yet because my focus was on the front end. So now I'm on to my rear end. So we're going to be installing these. I got both of them here. This is I don't think it matters what side of the car these go on, but I got the one here. And then I got the second one right here. Also, shout out to Serialnine. I was catching up on their podcast, and in episode 100, they actually talked about my other UCF11 Celsior for like 10 seconds, which was pretty cool. Stoked on that. But here's the other arm. Some people might ask, oh, well, why didn't you get the billet lower arms they offer now? Well, this one they don't have in a billet option yet, and I think it's mainly because there's this tab that they need to weld here. This tab is for your end link, but I got the billet lower arms and the other ones. The only other non-billet one I have is the upper control arm, but I'm not too worried about matching all that. But yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and I'll put you guys on a time lapse, and we're gonna quickly install these. Okay, so I just got the arms on. Everything went pretty good. As you can see in the time lapses, I got the one here, one down there. Yeah, definitely gonna need to do some adjusting on the alignment because obviously the subframe is actually flipped upside down right now, and if you couldn't already tell. And then I basically have no idea where like anything isn't in relation to each other, because there's no way to align this thing. So everything is just bolted up right now, and the real alignment is obviously going to be done when it's on the car. So like, just for instance, I know things are a little bit off because of this. So this heim joint is like They're both probably out of their adjusters like 1/4 inch maybe. And over here we're much more. So I'm gonna have to see, like, I'm just gonna have to reference Serialnine's website, because they actually tell you like a measurement on when you like exceed what's safe to be adjusted on those arms. So definitely gonna look into that and make sure I don't exceed that, even though that I know that'll be adjusted. It's gonna look a lot different. So with that happening now, the rear arm install on the subframe is officially complete. I don't really have to do anything else. And basically the next step for this thing is to get it back in the car. So that's something I'm going to be doing. Hopefully this weekend I'd like to do it. If not next weekend. Things are a little bit busy, so I'm definitely going to need a hand with this. So I'm going to have to see when other people are free too to give me a hand. Got a couple friends in mind that I think I'll call up to give me a hand here, because pulling it out was easy, but I feel like getting it back in might be a little bit more difficult, especially with the drive shaft. So gonna organize a day, hopefully this weekend, maybe next weekend, to get this thing back in the car, and I'm looking really forward to that. It's been sitting in this spot for about a year now, and I'm just ready to get this car back on the ground. Realistically, I don't need to do much more to get this thing off of jack stands. And I'm not saying that I can drive it up and down the street, obviously, because one, there's snow on the ground. Two, this thing for sure needs an alignment, but I'll get this rear subframe in. I'll get everything back connected, make sure everything's good. I'm going to do the rear brake pads and rotors on the rear end. And essentially, if I had wheels and tires ready to go, I'd be putting this thing on the ground. But so like really it's not that far out. And I'm looking forward to that, because I just been excited to get this thing back to where I wanted it to. Essentially, I thought about it. I'm like a year behind schedule of what I originally wanted to be doing. I wanted to have this car out last spring, and I think it's more realistic this spring. But back a year ago, I thought having it out last spring was more realistic. But it obviously did not come true. So definitely a year behind schedule. Not stoked about that, but it is what it is. But I'm looking forward to the process of getting this back on the ground. So it's really not that far out, and I'm super excited to say that. So basically I am going to leave you guys with that. The next time you'll see me, I will be putting the subframe back in. Not entirely sure if I'm going to include that in this video or next video, because I would like to start with like semi-regular uploads again, not just one video every 4 months like I've been pretty bad at doing recently. So yeah, we're gonna, if you don't see me in the next clip, you'll see me in the next video. So with that being said, thank you for watching, and peace out.